This is First Contact, Stories of the Call Center.
You know, our podcast really focuses on the contact center space, right? Really,
Yep.
that part of the industry. And with that, customer experience is very important. And when you look at that and you said that aha moment, it clicked, and you noticed that not only the buy-in was there, but the energy and the effort and being able to get things moving was so much better and easier than before. And the outcomes you were able to reach were that much faster and that much better. But with that said, inside of the contact center context, right? How do you positively impact that to have those aha moments so that you get that buy-in? Because I could imagine without the buy-in, it becomes very difficult to improve that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, let's put this in context. When I was at British Telecom, I used to run the contact centers with 3,500 agents globally. Mm-hmm. So I've always had an affinity to contact centers. And yeah, I mean, that's where you, and again, that was sort of my learning ground for a lot of this stuff. That's where you learn that you've got to get people to individually understand what this means. So one of the problems with the whole concept of a customer experience is everybody thinks they understand it, and everybody thinks that they know what to do and how to do it, because, you know, the classic quote is, I'm a customer. I know how to, you know, I buy things. I know what I feel like. But the reality is that you've got to get under the skin, and you've got to start to understand human behavior, which is the area that we've sort of gone on to look at now, which is understanding true human behavior and why people do things. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's what we talk about a lot on the Intuitive Customer podcast. But to answer your question, the key is you've got to get people in the contact center to understand how they are feeling will affect how the customer feels. So the example I always give is when I walk home at night and I walk in my front door and I shout hello to Lorraine, my wife, within a one-word response, I can tell you how Lorraine is feeling. I can tell you if she's feeling happy. I can tell you if she's feeling sad. I can tell you what I should not do to make her feel worse. And I can tell you the things that I should do to make her feel better. Okay. How does this apply in the contact center? Well, actually, what people should be doing is they should be thinking you should be employing people who are good at understanding and identifying how the customer is feeling, which is more of a challenge in the contact center because obviously you can't look at body language and facial expression, etc. Which is why I think actually I'm an advocate of using video and stuff like that as well in the contact center. So, you know, what should the agent be doing? They should be trying to identify how the customer's feeling, and then they should be trying to convert them into feeling an emotion that the organization wants them to feel. And again, to get back to answer your question, the key is you've got to get people to understand why that's important. And what I've learned over the years is by, you know, my example of walking in and talking to Lorraine and finding out how she's feeling, everyone does that with their partner. Yeah. You just got to relate it to something that people understand and then say, okay, so now let's look at that. What's actually happening there? You know, how did you know from that one word response how that person was feeling? What was it? You know, was it the word they used? Was it the tone? Was it the cadence? Was it, you know, what was it that made you pick up that that's how that person's feeling? And what can you now do to change them? Well, so, you know, I think all of those things tie together.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great. And it's really important that you note some of those items, because some of those things that you get to know about your partner, there's going to be those unique things about them that you just learn and you know. But I think the more interesting part when you step back is that part was about them, not about you. You didn't walk in talking at them. or with her or anybody else, whether it's a customer or you're with your partners, you're trying to talk with them. And with them means both ways. So when you went in, you already went in listening to what they're saying, how they're saying it, so that when you react, it's not about just you, it's also about them. And I think that buy-in lets people to make that first decision to go, I have to also participate in this part of it because I influence that, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
so
Sorry, go on.
No, yeah, go ahead. You were saying?
The only bit I was going to add is just a sort of an anecdote again from my time in corporate life, because when we started to think about this stuff, one of the things that we did was to look at the levels of emotional intelligence of our agents, and to get into detail in the sort of the contact stuff. We were moving from a front office situation to a front and back office situation. So the front office dealt with the customer, the back office processed all the orders and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas before that job was combined. And the really interesting thing was that once we'd looked at the levels of emotional intelligence, we then gave people a choice. We then said, you can either join the front office and talk to customers, or you can join the back office. But if you join the front office, you have to pass this test, this EQ test, effectively. And the really interesting stat was that 50% of the people that wanted to go and work in the front office didn't pass the test.
Wow.
Okay? Now, if you think about that, that meant we had 50% of the people in the front office before that weren't really cut out for that role. Yeah. And that was a real eye opener in because that starts to make you go, well, what type of people are we recruiting? What are the measures that we've got in place? And you need to recognize that there are some people that just like processing orders and dealing with.
They're really good at it.
They're really good at it, and they're a lot better than some of the people that like talking to the customer. So it sort of becomes to improve the experience, you sort of have to break it down and put people into the right areas.